Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Welcome back to another amazing episode, listeners of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, the podcast mogul. And today we have a guest who is a true expert in helping people achieve their dreams through the power of franchising, another amazing entrepreneurial venture. Our guest today is recognized as the nation's top franchise coach and consultant. He's a man who knows firsthand the challenges of corporate America, where pursuing your own dream often takes the back seat to working for someone else. But through franchising, he's found a way to achieve his own dream. And now he's dedicated to helping others do the same. The perfect type of guest for the show. Over the last 7 years, he has helped hundreds of individuals transform their lives through franchise business ownership. With a keen ability to match people with the right franchise opportunities in the areas, he has become a trusted guide for those looking to control of their professional desires. With a career spanning 2 decades as a business investor and franchise consultant, our guest has founded 3 successful companies across 2 continents, including an IT company in Poland and a real estate investment company in Texas. His most recent successful story includes growing the Vanguard Cleaning Area Development concept in Houston into a multi-million-dollar enterprise, boasting over 30 franchisees and over 300 customers, which he has since sold. You know, when you get to the big stuff, you start selling your stuff. His latest book, The Franchisee Lifestyle, he interviews franchisees from diverse backgrounds, providing invaluable insight into the world of franchising. His book demystifies the franchise process, offering readers essential tips to avoid the pitfalls and make informed decisions while highlighting the unique benefits of being part of a well-established brand. Today, he's here to share his journey, discuss the key factors that contribute to successful franchising, and offer practical advice for anyone considering this path in entrepreneurship. So get ready to learn from the best in the business. Please join me and welcome the extraordinary, amazingly, Adam Goldman to the show. Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Phil. What an amazing introduction.
I try. You know, I look at myself as the hype man to any hip hop star. You're the star of the show. I'm just the hype man for this show. So, Adam, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to get right on to the show right away. What made you decide to go from corporate America and being in the back seat of someone else driving the car to kicking that person out and sitting in the front seat and driving your way to happiness with franchising and entrepreneurship?
Look, I mean, I have been in corporate America a little bit, but I've somehow avoided it. It's interesting. When I graduated from the University of Illinois in 1996, the people that were interviewing us were not like these exciting startups in Silicon Valley, right? Where you just kind of one of the big founders. It was big companies like Ford or Archer's Daniel Midland or Toyota, right? And so I just kind of decided in 96 on a whim. I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't really work for me. I'm young. I'm going to go to Europe and I'm going to just kind of start opportunities there. Fast forward to 2004 when I graduated from business school. Yes, these different opportunities didn't seem particularly exciting for me. I had an IT business running in Warsaw. And so during my journey as a MBA student in Berkeley, California, I had this business running. And when I graduated in 2004, I decided to go to Poland and sell that business when I came back. So, I mean, yes, I've done some things in the corporate world, but for me, frankly, the corporate world has never really spoken to me.
I love that. I love how you eschewed the regular path and were like, I'm not going to stay here in America where it's the home of opportunity. No, I'm going to go over to Poland, Europe in particular, where it's a different mindset and different way of life to build your first business. I want to touch on that because that's something really, really interesting. What was it like? There's the culture shock, there's the business shock because it's completely different. There's the language barriers and that. When you went over to Poland, first of all, why Poland? And second of all, what was it like trying to start your own business in a place that didn't have the same, I don't want to say freedoms, but business world IQ or business ideology that the US has.
So look, we're talking about businesses that are about 20 years old, right? So from my Polish friends, I hear that things have changed a lot. But one of the things that I found is, it's funny because the analogy is, if you go to, and this is kind of a weird analogy, but if you look at the Communist Party in Cuba after Fidel took over, someone asked, they said, "Hey, is anyone here?" And so they had this room, and it turned out that Che Guevara was the one running the economics section for Cuba, and he did a horrible job. And so it was a situation where, like 3 months later, they said, "Hey, why did you run this?" He said, "I thought." They said, "Well, we asked if anyone was economista," and then Che Guevara said, "Well, I thought you said, did you ask if anyone was a comunista?" Right? So I guess the point is that just the fact that I was an American in my young 20s in Eastern Europe in the 90s, right when the wall fell, people thought that I was like somehow an expert on capitalism, entrepreneurship, and startups just by being an American at that age. So in many ways, just kind of by stumbling into those markets at that time was a really good career move for me.
Oh, I love that. And I completely forgot that it was around the time that the West and East fell, and you now have the world opening up to the world of capitalism. Was that was that worrisome for you that you were thrust into this position of being the know wall when you're 24, or you know, being the know wall entrepreneur when in reality you're like, I'm just beginning like the rest of you.
No, you know what? I didn't know any better. It was like kind of cool. Like, wait a second here. I get to run this business just because I'm an American. This is awesome. This is how things should work. This is amazing. So I was at age 20 something, being able to be confident about this, good situation to be in.
Looking back on it, do you view that your confidence was the youthful confidence of someone who didn't know better, or was it the confidence of someone who knew what they were doing?
Youthful confidence of someone that didn't know better.
I figured. So once you started building up this business, this IT business in Poland, and then decided, hey, I want to get my MBA. Like, you were already starting a business, so you already were pretty much getting a front row seat to an MBA. What made you decide to go back to the US and get that actual MBA instead of getting paid to do your MBA through your business?
So great question. I mean, look, I got that experience, but one of the things I noticed in Poland is that there were it was becoming more and more. Poland joined the EU, and it was becoming more of a localized economy, whereas opposed to being an economy that's full of multinational companies, right? So the skill set that I was bringing was less and less valuable. And I really wanted to leverage what I learned in Eastern Europe and to take that back to the United States, because my dream was at some point to go back home. US is home for me. And that's the reason why I went to business school.
Okay. I want to go into the sale part, because a lot of entrepreneurs, their dream of selling their business to make oodles and oodles of money, because that's how we kind of hear how most entrepreneurs make it in the world. They get to the next level by selling a business. I'm wondering, since you've sold businesses here in the States, selling the business in Poland, in the European area, was there a big learning curve for you in understanding how the due diligence and the finding the salesperson, finding the right person to buy the company, or were you just trying to get out of that business at ASAP?
So I think every sale of a business is something different, right? So it was a different animal. I actually had one of my professors at Berkeley that helped me with the sale, which was really invaluable. Probably the best value that I got from my whole MBA. He actually represented me pro bono in the sale. Also, when it came to selling the business in Houston, it was a situation where it was an unsolicited offer to sell the business. So that was also something interesting. So just two very different animals. Neither one was a distress sale, which I could imagine for some of your listeners, it's not a fun situation to be in. Business isn't going well, and you kind of need to exit, and no matter what, neither one of these was that situation. I think that's important leverage in any negotiation.
I like that. And when did you so you sold the business in Poland.
Yep.
You're happy. You're a young kid with lots of money in your pocket now. You come back to the States. You end down in. Do you go straight to Texas or you're back in LA?
So was never in LA, right?
Okay.
So I went to school at Berkeley, right?
Isn't Berkeley in California?
Berkeley's near San Francisco.
Okay, my apologies.
Yeah. No worries.
My geography of the States is, I know there's states, and there's a lot of them.
That's okay. So after I went back to Poland to finalize the sale of my business, I didn't know what to do next. And frankly, a lot of times when I'm successful, that's when I don't know what's next, right? So made my way to New York because that's where my family is from. Okay. And then from there, realized that wasn't the right place for me. Went to Austin, Texas. And that was in 2005 and really haven't looked back since 2005. I've now been in Texas for about 20 years now, and I love the state.
Okay. And so was it in Texas that you found your love for franchising?
Yes. And it was a love that was just kind of happened by happenstance. So to talk about my career, so sold my business, didn't know what to do. And then all of a sudden this crazy recession hit in 2008. And just kind of saw this really interesting opportunity in real estate locally in Texas, specifically in Houston, where I was able to invest in residential real estate at a reduced rate. And these were owner financed houses. And what I found in 2009 or 2010 is that my inventory of houses was just drying up. Different big money was getting into this business. And I talked to a friend of mine who recommended just looking at franchises in general and saw that, wow, this is interesting. I didn't even know this business existed. And I decided, I looked at a few different brands, got very excited about a business that was office cleaning master franchise for Houston that really fit what I was looking for in a business. Now, I'm really good at following a process. My strength is not necessarily creating that process from scratch. And that's what this franchise brand did for me.
Love it. So you went in on this franchise business, built it up to uber successfulness, and then you exited.
That's correct.
When you said that you received the offer to purchase the business, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So what was it like? Because the first one you wanted to sell because you're like, I want to come back home. And so you had a need to sell. It wasn't a distress sale. It was, I need to get out of this country, get out of this business because I want to go back home and live my life back in the States, which was your plan. But now you're getting this, an unsolicited, as I think you mentioned before, offer to buy your business. What was going through your head? Because were you planning on selling that franchisee business, or were you just like, maybe this is the rest of my life?
Yeah, at some point I thought this would be what I'd be doing forever, right? What I can say is that the business itself, if I look back, I just really enjoyed the beginning, starting something from scratch, right? Getting new customers. When you lose a customer, when you have, 10, 20, 30 customers, it doesn't hurt as much. But the more customers you have, the more customers you lose on a regular basis. So you're just totally trying to kind of replicate that, and your attrition goes up. So it became less interesting from a sales point of view and more operationally heavy. And so that really made it not as enjoyable. And so frankly, I was pretty excited when I got this offer that was a fair offer. And I didn't know what I was going to do next at that time, but it wasn't necessarily my original plan, but it was a good situation to be in. It felt like the right time after 8.5 years in that business.
I love that. And during those 8.5 years of developing your business, you created smaller franchise off of the main business, correct?
So yes, so I was a master franchisor. And what that means in franchise speak is that you have unit franchisees that you sell, and they're the ones that were cleaning the buildings in Houston.
Okay. So in essence, you were the business and you were hiring employees, but they had their own little business from the big business, correct?
So they weren't actually employees, they were franchisees, which is an important designation in that they weren't my W-2 employees, right? They hired their own employees, but they were franchisees and they were their own business owners. So it was really exciting because I had people that were putting their kids through college, and I was helping people to help them to create their own dreams or to fulfill their dreams as a franchisee themselves as well.
And in that period, like in those 8 years with those franchisees, you were helping them grow their business in essence
Absolutely.
because it was going to grow yours. And that's how you became the franchise coach.
I became the franchise coach as I started it part time, right? I decided, hey, this is interesting, but I kind of want to see what the rest of the franchising world is like. And when I started to this business, the current business that I'm in now, that I've been doing this for 7.5 years, I'm like, wait a second here. This is absolutely fascinating. This is a lot more than just office cleaning master franchising. This is a situation where I have brands in 75 different industries, and I'm helping people that using my experience as a franchisor and a franchisee to kind of make that matchmaker for these people. And that's a really good place to be.
I love it. You're selling the picks to the gold rush in essence. That's what you're doing.
Absolutely.
With everything you've gone through in your 2+ decades of entrepreneurialism, what have you seen to be a common occurrence for both the franchisees, because they are business owners, so both franchisees and business owners, they have kind of in common like those problems, since you've been on both sides of the situation?
So what I would say is, and I'm going to share this here, not because I'm in Texas and we love guns, but I mean, this is something that really a good friend of mine talked about, and it really resonated with me. I want to talk about this as being the silver bullet, and I have this in display near my computer. It's to remind me that I'm the silver bullet, right? And so what I would say is, no matter who the entrepreneur is, whether or not they're a franchisee or a business owner or whoever it might be, even an employee, sometimes they tend to not really think about the big picture, and that they're the silver bullet themselves, right? So many things involved in a day are related to whether or not you are your best self, right? So, I mean, I've had situations where my friends tell me, they're like, hey, ask yourself, if you're an investor in your company, did you put in 110% today, right? How many people can say they've done that, both as a business owner, franchisee, or employee?
I like that. I like that. That gives us more motivation to think about it. Are we giving our all to the business? Are we giving our all to the opportunities that are presented to us because of this world of entrepreneurship, be it through franchisees or business ownership, or even solopreneurs, if you will? Um, how did you the transition from being a master franchisee owner or franchisor, not sure of the proper terms, and I apologize for that. It's a new world of entrepreneurship for me. How was it that going from doing that to coaching? Because coaching is a completely different world. Coaching, consulting, it's a different world than being in the grime, if you will, of running a franchise. I presume, since there's a lot difference within that sphere. How was that transition for you? Since you've already transitioned from being a full-on business owner for a one-off in your IT company in Poland to being a master franchisee for a cleaning service for office cleaning, to now being coaching, because those are very different levels of entrepreneurship and skills needed. How was that transition for you? And I have a follow-up afterwards.
So look, if I look at my day to day now, I just love what I'm doing, right? I'm here. I get to really get to know people deeply, and I get to make a difference in their life, right? And I get to connect them with different brands they otherwise didn't think of. And that's a really, really an existence that's, I feel like it's being relevant, and it gets me up in the morning, gets me all jazzed and excited, right? Especially when these matches are great. I mean, I talk to people that I placed 4 or 5 years ago, and they tell me, "Hey, Adam, you've changed my life," and that really gets me going. If I look at the kind of life that I had before with office cleaning, that was also very meaningful, right? I had employees, I had franchisees as well, but in many ways, this is life changing, right? If look, if I make a mistake at someone's office, it's office cleaning, right? It's not like I'm changing their life by by the office being a little bit nicer the next day. And look, help someone as a franchisee to make more money for their kids to go to education, but just really being a situation where someone's making a huge investment as a franchisee. That's power in all these different brands. That's a lot more powerful and more impactful than before.
And my follow-up with that is, since you've been going through different transitions in your career as an entrepreneur, what has been a constant investment that you've made in yourself to keep being the best version of yourself, Adam?
That's such a great question. And I think that it evolves, right? So I think that I've really focused on my inner game a lot more so in the past 5 years, right? That's been much more important. Part of it is I highly recommend for anyone that has the ability. There are many different clubs throughout the United States and Canada. An organization that I've loved very much. I'm now on about 10 years there. It's called Entrepreneurs Organization, or EO. I have a forum where I have people that are just kind of there to make me better, right? It's a peer-to-peer group, almost like a support group for entrepreneurs. And big fan of that. But look, it's just investing in self-love, investing in myself, like things such as meditation. When I find that my morning doesn't start well, right? Everything else doesn't start well. If I invest that 20 to 30 minutes at the beginning of the day, that'll make everything else go better, right? So journaling, things of that sort, things that people might have thought were hokey 10 or 20 years ago, just mindset in general. It's a big part of my business right now.
I love it. Is there a particular method in how you look to your future, to not only make sure that you're staying congruent to who you are as your core, but also being able to see what's coming down the pipeline in either the franchisee space or in the business world that you take every day, like a simple routine that you do so that you're always making sure that you're on the top of the game?
So, Phil, I'm a big believer in setting aside time every week where it's deep work, right? So if you shut off that phone, right, and kind of clear your calendar and say nothing can happen this day, good things can happen. So I spend every Monday morning for 3 to 4 hours. That's kind of my deep time to kind of really be on the business as opposed to being in the business. And I think that that's powerful for whoever is in any sort of business, because you get distracted. You can get phone calls and whatever that might be. That it's to have that sacred time is really, really important.
And how long in your journey from the start in Poland to all the way to today did it take you to learn that it's more important to work on the business than be working in the business, or at least set aside that time to work on the business?
I'm embarrassed to say it's been 20 years plus, right? I mean, or more than 20 years. I never had this block where I say, don't disturb me. These hours on Monday morning are hours to work on the business. And I even have a separate category, right? We even call it something where we call it, the name of it would be a strategic block, right? A strategic time, right? So I'm embarrassed to say it took me 20 plus years to do that.
And now that you've done it, because obviously learning how to do it is one thing, but teaching it to others, do you pass that on to your employees that you currently have, that they should be working on a strategic part of the business so that they're working on the business and not in the business? Or is this something that you just exclusively do for yourself?
So what happens now is that this time on Monday mornings has become with my team kind of like a time for us together to strategize. So they know we want to kind of go deep into this business. It's Monday morning. That's when we kind of get into this and we think about it.
I love it. And is this something that since you've learned it and internalized it for your own team and seen how well it's working, is it something that you've been not necessarily pushing onto the people that you're helping, but highly suggesting to those people that they should be taking these a couple hours a week to focus on the business and strategize on how to improve the business instead of working in the business?
I really should be talking to them more about this. I have success or emotionally supportive meetings every other month with my franchisees. And that's the kind of thing that I should be raising with them, that to kind of spend time, allocate time to kind of be on the business, not in the business.
Okay. I want to snap our fingers. You've been in this game quite a long time, being an entrepreneur, 20 plus years, as we said, 2 decades, moving on to the third decade. Where do you see yourself in 10 years from today? What is Adam doing? Is he still being the franchise coach, or has he evolved into another version of himself into your career?
So I do think I'm going to still be doing this. This is just kind of this unique niche. I'm a firm believer, Phil, in people having unique ability, right? But what I would say is that me in 10 years from now, I'll be doing this, but there'll be other things going on, right? My kids will be older. One of the reasons why I've chosen this path is I'm able to be there for my family, right? I'm able to work on my own terms. So I just see there being iterations, more passive investments potentially, things that, and also this as well, right? But I do see doing the same thing in 10 years.
That's a great vision, knowing that you're falling into what you love and you love what you're doing. Staying where you are is probably the best, but as well as having those other interests. What do you do to relax? What is it that once Adam, the franchise coach, is off, what does Adam, the human, do to recharge your batteries?
I love exercise, right? Some people say, oh, I hate working out. For me, it's like one of the most fun things of my day, whether or not it's a run. I'm a firm believer in running long distances slowly, right? They call it type 2 exercise. That's part of it. I don't go enough, but I really enjoy yoga very much. Yoga is great. Movies are great. Reading an amazing book, I think, is kind of underrated. I don't care what it is, nonfiction or fiction, just anything to kind of get excited about something. And the other thing too, just using the different side of my brain that I don't use it enough. I'm a big puzzle lover. My family's like, what are you doing? But when I get into a really good puzzle that might be 1,000 pieces, I'm just so in that zone. And it's just such a great thing to do outside of my day to day.
I love it. And I kind of want to bring it back because you said getting a good book is important, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. You're the author of The Franchisee Lifestyle, where you interviewed different franchisees from different backgrounds. What are some of the common traits that you noticed in those successful franchisees that they share?
There's one common trait, and it's very simple. The ones that follow the model are the ones that succeed. It's interesting because I just heard a story today of someone that didn't really have much business acumen, came from the military in the United States, and they're like one of the top 2 franchisees at their brand. And their secret sauce is, I've experienced following models in the military. I'm taking that same experience and following it at this company, and I'm just totally crushing it.
Just follow the model. That's simple as it. My God, who could have believed that it was as simple as that to be successful as a franchisee? Follow the model. I want to know. I have your 10-year-old version here, and unfortunately, we're coming up to time here, Adam, and I despise it because I'm missing out on all the gold that you can probably share with us if I had you for 2 hours. But I have your 10-year-old self here, Adam, and I'm wondering, what advice would you love to be able to hand back to your 10-year-old self that you didn't receive, that you wish you did?
So look, at age 10, right, that would take me to, I'm trying to think, is this like 4th grade?
You're about third, 4th grade. You're about 3rd or 4th grade at this point.
I mean, not to get too vulnerable here, but it was kind of a tough time for me, right? I mean, I didn't necessarily, what I would say is someone that's an independent thinker, I had people around me that weren't necessarily independent thinkers as well. So what I would say is, hey, look, you might seem relatively alone now. It's okay, right? Don't worry about what other people say about you. It doesn't matter. Kind of take that noise and just kind of figure out what to do, right? Or what not to do, and not worry about what other people say or what other people think.
I love it. Some great advice for anyone at any age to stop worrying about what other people think or say, because only what matters is what you think and what you say and do. Adam, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to talk to my audience. Let them know exactly where they can contact you if they're looking to get into the franchise space as an entrepreneur, if they're a franchisee and looking for help in taking the model to the next level, becoming the next great in their brand. The floor, sir, is yours.
Thank you, sir. So if anyone's interested in my service, it's a free service, right? Most people think that investing in a franchise is really, really expensive. The minimum investment that franchise brands are looking for is typically around $50,000 in cash net worth and $150,000 total in net worth in general, including your 401k or your house. So there's a misconception that you need to have millions of dollars, although there are very great businesses that require more money than that. Anyone interested in a free consultation to see if we're a good fit, I promise to let you know if I don't think that you're a good fit for franchising. It's a free service, and I connect investors with brands that are in 75 different industries. Go ahead and schedule a 15-minute chat at franchiseadam.com or alternatively at franchisecoach.net, and looking forward to chatting with you.
Adam, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure chatting with you, learning about your journey from IT guru in Poland to all the way over to being the franchise coach and where you're going in the future. I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Phil. It's been a pleasure.
To my audience, make sure you check out the show notes down below so that you can connect with Adam. Both websites will be listed there so you can get that free 15-minute call to see whether or not franchising is something for you. I want to thank Adam again for being an amazing guest, for you guys for listening. And as always, remember to invest in yourself.